We're discussing further on the show something deeper, actually, and more significant behind this issue of an attack of destroying a weapons depot. And we have with us Dr. Hamid Eltgani, who is a professor of public policy at AUC. Dr. Tijani, thank you very much for being here.
Thank you so much.
And if we would read together more than between the lines of what is behind this attack.
You know, if you look at the Sudan at this moment, the country itself is divided, and there is no clear, coherent strategic choices that the country is making it, and it seems to be that the country is creating short-term alliances at the cost that the country is paying the price on it. And if you look at it, it's as the earliest as at the 90s, Sudan has some sort of an agreement, especially in terms of the security arrangement with Iran, and it never comes to the surface as we are seeing it in these 2 days or in the last week and so. This alliance it's a security alliance. It come out very quickly, and it's showing that people are paying the price for that alliances. And if it is why this is happening, that's a question. Why the Israelis are not attacking any other place except Sudan? And this has happened more than 5 or 6 times.
What would prompt Israel actually to conduct such a bold attack?
Because for one thing is, of course, nobody condones the attack of a country. And this is the first to begin with. But at least they know. They have information. And I think they alerted the Sudan government multiple times of this smuggling, that people are creating corridor for passing weapons, and this has become something that alarming. And it seemed to be what has happened is they have seen that is other more weapon shipment that is taking place, and probably that's what triggered them to attack. What we are seeing it as a country like Sudan, I don't see that producing arms is the priority of the country. I think we need to look for education, health, security, and peace, rather than producing arms and arms. And unfortunately, whatever we produce there, it's used for the domestic purposes. And the people that living in Darfur, living in Blue Nile, living in South Kordofan, are seeing the suffering from this weapons that are being used. So taking off those weapons, and I think it might trigger mechanics, that is, we might see a peace. People will look at the peace as something that viable, especially people in Khartoum. They have seen from the explosion that has taken place in Khartoum.
Right. Professor Eltgani, you have mentioned divisions, which is considered to be the key or the clues that had triggered what is happening. What other readings for the timing of the incident or of the attack?
The timing of the incident, one thing that is probably coincidental, because I don't think that there's a 2 things, that is, if the Israelis want to deliver a message
Definitely
to
there
the
is
Iranians,
a message. Yeah.
That is, what we are doing in Sudan is sort of a rehearsal for what is going to come.
Do you think that this is viable, that it is just a show of force and a message also to Iran?
I think that's one of the purposes of this. And the other things also, I think they are putting pressure on the Obama's administration. And the Israelis are basically saying that is, we could go alone and do whatever we want to do in Iran if America is not going to go with us online. So they are giving different messages. And of course, message to the Sudan that is, what you are doing, your alliances is the red line, so be careful about it. So it delivers a couple messages to different parties, different regional powers, and I'm sure that Sudan will going to rethink twice about this alliance, and this alliance is very dangerous, I think, for the country, and especially given this region we don't want to create another escalation in the Mediterranean or in the Red Sea, for example, as the Iranians vessels are docked there in Port Sudan. We have seen that also the Israelis are dispatching some sort of war vessels that are heading towards Red Sea. So we don't want to see that area. It's already there, the turmoil in Somalia, and there is, we've seen that piracy is taking place over there. So nobody need to see another escalation, and especially Sudan. Sudan need to have so many problems that they don't need to get into this alliance. And the Iranians are very desperate, looking for the alliance after the Syrians is in trouble. And so the only choices left is Sudan, and I think that is something that is very dangerous and shouldn't be allowed to take place in this region.
Right. More than one message, actually, Professor Tijani. Some analysts see it as a show of force. Others were quite agreeing with your perspective that it is also a message for the U.S. president that Israel can go for a strike on Iran, whether with the approval of the Americans or without. Others are also saying that maybe it is like some sort of making into consideration the Iranian response, like Iran, it is mainly meant to weaken Iran's ability for a counterattack or for taking an action vis-a-vis the Israeli attacks later. How do you see the latest part of the assessment?
You know, if you look at of course, the Iranians are going to be weaker because they already lost Syria. Hezbollah is very weak in Lebanon. And the alliances that they created with Sudan, this is going to be also tarnished by what has happened. And if they try to use as another hub for the armaments, and especially, you know, the rumors that it's not the rumors actually, but the Shahab ballistic missiles are there. The rockets, that is some sort of Iranian version, was there. This was there. But the question is why they are there. Whether the government is using it. It's true the government used some of the Iranian weapons on the internal struggles that is happening in Darfur and happening in Blue Nile. The government used those Iranian weapons. And the Iranians have become the major source of the weapons in Sudan. So this is one of the things, and Iranians are taking that advantage. That is, you are going to be one of our customers, and we are having security alliances. And that's why they are, after these ships, they are coming into Khartoum, they are giving that message that this alliance is on. However, the Iranians are going to be weakened because Sudan cannot. Sudan have no capacity to take that kind of a pressure. It was very clear that is 10 planes attacking weapon factory, and nobody knew about it until it was done. So it's showing that this country is quite weaker, and unfortunately the Sudan Armed Forces itself never equipped to fight the external wars. Since the independence of the country, they are just working on the internal wars. So they are like a police officers, basically. So given that, I think the Iranians are not going to rely very much on Sudan for now, and this is going to weaken their position. That is, the way they are negotiating with the international community, the way that they are moving towards a confrontation with Israel. I think that's not going to happen. Probably they are going to give concessions, and we might see some concession, that is because they have no friends.
Right. Sudan already denied any sort of connection between Iran and the Yermok facility, saying that Iran doesn't need actually Sudan to manufacture weapons. What's your comment on that?
You know, of course, Sudan got to deny this because it's going to be very costly. You are going to upset a lot of the Arab countries in this region, especially the Saudi Arabians. I'm sure the Saudis are not happy with this. Neither the Qataris nor the Egypt himself. This is nobody going to be happy with this. The only thing is, this is a wrong alliance, and it was secretly done, and it came to a surface. And I think also this is the responsibility of people of Sudan. That is this a choice that the country is going for, or is this just only serving the interests of the arms smugglers and few cliques in the NCP that they are dragging this country around? Because it seems to be that the country is hijacked, and this is a wrong policy, and the country is moving in a wrong direction. This is not going to be a fruitful alliance. And even the opposition forces, they come out and they say we are in a wrong way. We are heading in a wrong direction. And it is a matter of time that before people will do the pressure that the government need to change the course. But of course, if the government is not accountable to the people, they'll do whatever they want to do. At the long term, the country will pay the price. That's what we are afraid of it. But it's a lose-lose game. You know, alliance with Iran, you are not going to win it. You're going to lose.
Right. Iran dispatched actually warships to Sudan right after the Israeli airstrike. What message was there behind the sending of the warships?
Of course, the Iranians, they want to say that is, we're going to give you assurances. Okay? You were attacked. We're going to stand beside you. And we have, you know, security arrangement. And we can give you the protections. That's the message that the Iranians are delivering it. But the question is whether the Iranians have the capacity to give the assurances and the protection to the regime in Sudan by what they are doing it. And the question, you know, the thing is, it seems to be they don't have that technology to protect it, because if they want to attack again, they will attack again and again. And the other thing is the Iranians want to assess the conditions, because if this has happened, I'm sure they have some other technology over there to monitor at least to monitor the radar system is, how weak, how vulnerable this system it is. Because I'm sure they have some sort of a system around in the coastal area at least. Just to make sure that is, because the Israelis have attacked that times, they attack almost 4 or 5 times. So they have some sort of a system. So they are there to assess how this system is vulnerable. And it's very clear that that system is quite vulnerable. And what else they could do to improve the system? Probably those are the parameters that they are going to discuss around these meetings. But the thing is, it seemed to be that the public, it just looked like raising so many doubts and raising so many questions about this, how deep the relationship between this system, between the regime in Khartoum and the Iranian regime. And the international community is saying that's why there was no much strong condemnation for what Israel has done. Nobody come out strongly to condemn it, because people just feeling that there is something that's going on here, and nobody want to go ahead and confronting that one. Even Sudan itself, they said they want to go to the to the Security Council. They want to go to the UN and raise...
Isn't this in violation of all international laws, what happened?
Of course it is. It is a violation of international law.
What sort of legal procedures will Sudan take?
You know, the question is, Sudan have, if you want to take the legal procedures with the international system, you have an indicted president that need to comply with the international system. The question is, becomes so, it's a paradigm, that is, on the one hand, you have an indicted president that is supposed to go to the ICC and he's not willing to go. On the other hand, you are saying that, I was being victimized here. And
I mean, in particular to this incident, Professor Tijani.
There is nothing that Sudan can do it. The only thing that Sudan can do it is just to realize that, first, this is a smaller country. This is a weaker country. This is a country that has no capacity to challenge the international system. And for now, they just need to be in peace with their neighbors, in peace with itself, and look for its internal problems. We have enough. Sudan has so many problems, that is, they need to focus on the internal issues rather than going to other spheres where they cannot able to sustain it, because this is a very dangerous game, that is, they try to play it. And I think this is something that we need, at least people of Sudan need to think about it twice before they're getting into and the international system is not going to reward you for anything, because they are just saying there is something going on here, and come out with all the truth. And that will drag you to areas that you might not want to go through it.
How is this incident, Professor Tijani, going to highlight an escalation in the hidden conflict between Israel and Iran?
It could be 2 ways. This could be at the beginning, where the Iranian will feel that is the better option is the peaceful options. And I am just, I cannot understand why is the strive towards possessing a nuclear weapon. Because, why it is. Because I just think that is, for the Iranians are better off with, disarmament and better getting concessions on education, concession on a better technology, concession on development. So it might, the Iranians community might themselves, or the ruling elites themselves, they might come to the term that it's better the route of peace, the route of giving the concessions, than the route of the confrontation and the wars, because it's going to be very costly. And you cannot confront the whole world. You cannot confront the whole Western powers plus Israel. This means the destruction of the country, because at the end the Russians will never do nothing, the Chinese will do nothing, and you will be left alone. So that's why the option is, there's a possibility that the Iranian will give concessions and rather than confrontation. So this could be.
And how do you view the Israeli reaction? They are not denying or confirming the attack.
Because that's the way they are doing it always. The Israelis, they never come up, and because this is a violation of international law. You are attacking a country.
Why didn't they come up and deny that they are involved?
The feeling of the feeling of power. I don't have to. If there is a small boy, I whip him. I don't have to come out and say I whip him, because it's just too little.
Yeah.
And not also the magnitude of danger. It's not that so, very dangerous. Sudan is not a very dangerous country, even though the Israelis are saying that this country is a dangerous country, but it's not. So they just felt like they're giving him a message that is, stop doing this. And probably, I think the message is gotten well. I think, hopefully the regime in Sudan got the message now.
Right, hopefully everybody got the message. And we read the message actually here on the second segment of the show. I thank very much Dr. Hamid Eltgani, Professor of Public Policy at AUC. Thank you, sir, for coming.
Thank you so much.
And thank you, dear viewers, as well, for watching us and following up on the daily debate tonight. I'm Taghreed Hussein signing off. And, well, actually, next Sunday with another team on the daily debate here on Nile International.